political correctness kills. It's touted as something kind of innocuous and benign. Like it doesn't actually hurt anybody. It's marketed, if you will, as a way to be nice, right? A way to be kind, at the expense of truth. I mean, even those who support it admit that it is kind of dishonest, right? Like the white lie. But the trouble is that they keep pushing the boundary further and further. And so eventually this lie is not a white lie anymore. It's like a grey lie. But as a society, we're deluding ourselves with it. But it's not innocuous. Take the case of a man who thinks he's a woman. You hear about this all the time now, with transgenderism being the new thing on the left. Well, what does it hurt if we call the man a she or her? Isn't it just nice? Well, besides the fact that we're normalizing delusion on a societal level, you also have the thing of, well, what happens when the man wants to go inside a little girl's bathroom or a woman's bathroom? What happens when the man wants to compete in sports with other women? With women, I mean. And ends up beating them up, in wrestling matches and boxing and so on. What about when the man wants to go inside a battered women's shelter? Where's our line? And I say that because none of these are hypothetical examples. All of them are happening. In fact, the last one with the man wanting to get inside a battered women's shelter, he's suing because a Christian shelter turned him away. Not just a homeless shelter, it's there for women who've actually been beaten up. But that's where we're going. And nobody's allowed to say anything about it, because if you do so, you're a bigot. And that's political correctness. That's what it does. You can look over to England, because in a way it's like the left has taken such a hold over there, you can see where we're going. And in a city called Telford, it was recently announced that over 1,000 young girls have been raped by Muslim gangs over like a 40-year period. And nobody has done anything about it. Nobody said anything. Now, a couple of years ago, it came out the Rotherham scandal. It was international news that the girls over in that city, that's a city, Rotherham, had been raped and abused. And, nobody had said anything because of political correctness, because they didn't want to upset community relations. The police thought it was their job to not upset community relations. It was politically incorrect to go and arrest a bunch of Muslims who are raping young teenage, or in some cases younger than teenage girls. They're 10 and 11 years old. And this new case in Telford, apparently it may include as many as 10% of these girls. In a Western, civilized country? It's shocking. And, the media they still won't even say Muslim gangs. They still say Asian. Like, are they Chinese? Are they Japanese? No, they're Arabs. It's this code word that's been invented by political correctness. You can't say Arab, you can't say Muslim. You can't even say what they are, which is, Pakistani and Iraqi and from Afghanistan. Not even supposed to say that. Because it's politically incorrect. It's bigotry to say the truth. And it's not surprising that people from that region of the world do this. Over there you have a culture and a religion, and the two are obviously intertwined. You have a certain culture because you have the religion of Islam in that region. And people may find it hard to believe, but inside of Islam, there are tenets which actually encourage this sort of thing. There are essentially two books, if you will, of Islam. One is the Quran, another is called the Hadith. And together they make up their holy books. It's kind of cringe. Okay, but inside of these books, it talks about Muhammad, their Christ-like equivalent, their leader. It talks about how he told his followers that they could rape women. Not only could they rape women in regions in which they'd attacked, but that they should impregnate them too. That would be Allah's will if they got pregnant after they were raped by his followers. And then you have, inside of the Quran, you have, it actually says that a woman is worth, that her testimony is worth half that of a man. In the holy books, it talks about how 4 men are needed for a conviction of rape. 4 male witnesses. And somehow you'll have 4 men there who were not taking part in the event and yet want to testify inside of court. So what you have is, like over in Pakistan, where you've got all these different women who are jailed for adultery. They were raped, but they weren't able to prove that they were raped. So what they had done instead, according to the law, which was also Islamic law, was they'd confessed to adultery. They'd confessed to, having sex outside of marriage. And they bring that religion and that culture with them. And what shocks me about the thing is not that these people who follow Islam do these things. That doesn't shock me at all. I mean, if it's there in their book, if their great prophet or even their God is telling them to do it, I'm not shocked that they do it. What shocks me is that people here in the West are unwilling to say anything about it. Political correctness resulted in some of these girls getting killed. You see, a lot of them didn't even come forward. We don't even know how many there are who were affected. Because they were threatened. They were told that they'd be killed, or that their parents would be killed, and their brothers and their sisters. They were told that their homes would be burned down whilst they slept. And it happened. In several instances, we know that homes were burnt down because, a girl came forward about what had happened to her. And this isn't a normal rape, and I'm not discounting normal rapes, where you have just one guy who's, lurking in the alley, so to speak. These are gangs. Actual groups. When we're talking about, an 11-year-old girl. But still, nobody's talking about it now. This wasn't uncovered because a, police agency decided to come forward and say, look at what we've discovered. No. It's still too politically correct for that. What instead happened is that a newspaper called The Mirror over there did its own investigation after they'd been contacted by different families about what's going on. They did an investigation and they released the story. And the police issued some kind of formal statement like, we'll look into that, that's a priority of ours. Right. Hasn't been a priority. And you've got these stories about how families have gone to the police 5 different times to report what has happened to, to their daughter, to their little girl. And the police did nothing. Because they didn't want to cause a riot. I mean, it's just disgusting. And then you have the fact that the police often run away from these Muslim gangs. I've seen videos of this, and where police end up having to run away. Why? Because they're not armed, because they don't have guns. Even the police don't have guns. So they're left vulnerable to, those with Molotov cocktails and knives and whatever they can get their hands on, and in some cases guns. It's the implosion of society. And over here, back in the United States, you had a case in 2015 where there was a Muhammad drawing contest that took place over in Garland, Texas. And when they were doing that, and bear in mind that in Islam you're not supposed to draw or have a picture of Muhammad. So, as a result of that, 2 Muslim men, attacked this event, and they were shot and killed, because here in the US our cops have guns. But still, after the fact, you saw these media personalities, and even just some regular people, talking about how, they shouldn't have had the contest. That's how evil political correctness is. Imagine And it's just so one-sided too. Imagine if it was like Richard Dawkins or some other really anti-Christian figure came here, and some Christians decided to attack the event. Right? I mean, imagine the media uproar then. Then they wouldn't be like, well, he earned it because he was, talking about Christianity. It just wouldn't happen. It's like it's an attack on our Judeo-Christian values. A very specific attack. It's not just that we can't say anything, it's that we can't say these specific things against these protected groups, which are among the most evil groups. When a white, mentally handicapped boy was captured by a group who was screaming about how much they hated white people, about how they hated Donald Trump, I think it was a little over a year ago. How they captured him and held him for a couple of days. There wasn't any media coverage on that until it started trending on Twitter. I mean, imagine that. I mean, so when you look over at these cases in England, what you're seeing is just what's going to happen here. Because it isn't just happening in one or two cities over there. Because I remember, now we know about Rotherham and Telsdale, but I was there and I knew about it happening in Leeds and Bradford and these other cities. I knew about it, and I was just a young teenage girl. I mean, it was mainstream. It happened anywhere that wasn't really super rural. In the ultra-rural areas where the migrants didn't settle, you didn't have the problem there. And that was about it. My point here is that as we prevent people's ability to speak, whether it's about, the transgender, the mental illness there, or whether it's about Muslims, people actually die. It's not benign, it's not friendly and nice, it's not nice to those girls who've been raped, who've had their lives destroyed. It's not going to be nice to the little girls in this country who end up having to share a bathroom with a full-grown man, and who end up getting attacked. It's not even a normal man. I was going to say, this is a mentally ill man who thinks that he's a woman part of the time, all the time, who knows? That's what we're normalizing, and this is not victimless, not at all. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. The word really needs to get out. This political correctness, it's evil. And it will destroy our Western civilization. And it will actually result in people dying. It seems like the most innocent in our society are those who get hit first. Anyway, thank you.
Health-wise.